Welcome to the news program of the Pontifical Council for the Family, dedicated to providing news relating to the family throughout the world. Today is Thursday, October 31st, 2013.
During this month of October, the Pontifical Council for the Family held its plenary assembly dedicated to reflecting on the letter on the rights of the family on its 30th anniversary.
In the framework of the plenary assembly of the Pontifical Council, a convention of studies took place with the participation, among others, of distinguished specialists on family, law, and sociology.
His Holiness Pope Francis received the members and consultants of the Pontifical Council for the Family to an audience, pronouncing an earth-warming message and urging them to continue to work to defend marriage and human life.
The pilgrimage of families to the tomb of St. Peter also took place this month, within the year of faith. The evening of prayer and festivities was held on October 26th, with a message from the Holy Father.
The pilgrimage of the families ended on Sunday the 27th, with a holy, solemn Eucharist presided by the Pope at St. Peter's Square, in which over 100,000 people from all over the world participated.
The plenary assembly of the Pontifical Council for the Family was held in Rome from October 23rd to the 25th. The work and deliberations of the members of the assembly were focused on the letter of the rights of the family, which 30th anniversary is being celebrated.
The President of the Pontifical Council, Monsignor Vincenzo Paglia, inaugurated the works pertaining to the plenary with a lecture titled Visions, Challenges, Perspectives and Work Program of the Pontifical Council for the Family.
Monsignor Paglia began his lecture by referring to the paradoxical situation of the family in our times, given that on the one hand, family ties are given great value, and on the other hand, the family has become the crossroad of all frailties.
The President of the Department exhorted for the family to become the center of interest in politics, culture, and economy. Lastly, he underlined the need to readdress the pastoral care of marriage and the family in order to be able to respond to the demands of the globalized modern man. In this sense, he highlighted the situation of those who are divorced and remarried and the complexity of the marriage annulment processes.
After a fruitful dialogue, the Sub-Secretary of the Department, Monsignor Carlos Simon, presented the work carried out as of 2 years ago, when the last plenary assembly concluded. He began by highlighting the importance and urgency of the testimony of families united in Christ, in a context such as that of the present, where the value and even the concept of family itself is increasingly dissipated and underestimated.
Monsignor Simon explained that during the last 2 years, the Pontifical Council has worked to show the family as a subject and at the same time as a resource for the Church and for society. The family, he stated, must again be the center of thinking, culture, politics, economy, and law. The Congress of Catholic Jurists, one of this year's events, has insisted on promoting the family as a subject of social rights.
On the second day, Thursday, the plenary assembly opened its doors to those who wanted to participate in the Congress on the new anthropological horizons and the rights of the family and its members, organized by the Pontifical Council.
On the third and final day, the Assembly of the Family dedicated the first part of the morning to learn of the view of the family in the Jewish community and the Muslim community. The first presentation was made by Rabbi David Ronson.
The most important part of the day was, without a doubt, the audience granted by His Holiness, Pope Francis, to the members and consultants of the Pontifical Council for the Family.
During the evening, Monsignor John McIntyre, Auxiliary Bishop of Philadelphia, explained the development of the work carried out in preparing for the World Days of the Families to be held in that U.S. city in 2015.
Lastly, Monsignor Paglia concluded the 21st Plenary Assembly of the Pontifical Council for the Family by exhorting everyone to continue to collaborate with the Pope in the service carried out by the Vatican for the family and life around the world.
The Plenary Assembly of the Pontifical Council for the Family opened its doors to the general public on Thursday to celebrate an encounter to reflect on new anthropological horizons and the rights of the family and its members.
Over 200 people participated in the convention, also held at Domus Pacis. The morning session was presided by Luis Antonio Tagli, the Cardinal of Manila. The first speaker was the Secretary of the Department, Monsignor John Lafitte, who spoke about the theological and anthropological elements of the letter on the rights of the family.
Monsignor Lafitte considers that the motives that led John Paul II to publish the letter on the rights of the family were the threats hovering over that institution since such times. Threats that throughout the course of those 30 years have become realities and have increased. Lastly, he listed the rights of the family and explained which of those rights are anthropological elements.
After the dialogue, Spanish philosopher and jurist Andrés Oller spoke on natural marriage. He regretted the decline of natural law and claimed its existence as an ethical minimum essential in order to sufficiently guarantee cohabitation worthy of being considered as human. He later referred to marriage as an institution of natural law, legally relevant by nature.
In her presentation, U.S. professor in family law, Teresa Collett, spoke of the state's missions to recognize marriage. She reminded those present that Article 16 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights recognizes marriage as a right and defines such as the union between a man and a woman to found a family. In the end, she highlighted the historical relation existing between the legal acknowledgement of marriage and the need to protect the children born from the union between a man and a woman.
The afternoon session was presided by Cardinal John Olunfemi, Archbishop of Abuja, Nigeria. The first speaker was Professor Carl Anderson, President of Caballeros de Colón. He spoke on the letter of the rights of the family and contemporary culture. He asserted that the family is in the center of the encounter of Christians with the evangelization of modern culture. Subsequently, U.S. Professor Jan Adolf spoke on the subject of the letter of the rights of the family and international legislation.
Afterwards, Italians Lucetta Scarafia, historian, and Stefano Samagni, economist, spoke on the letter on the rights of the family and women's rights, and couples of aggregation and begetter couples, respectively.
The Holy Father, Pope Francis, received the members and consultants of the Pontifical Council for the Family on Friday morning at the Clementine Hall of the Apostol of Palace.
Monsignor Vincenzo Paglia gave his welcoming speech, addressing His Holiness, filled with gratitude, and expressed the department's willingness to continue collaborating with the Pope to make the pastoral care for the family more efficient each day.
Pope Francis proceeded to pronounce his speech, which he frequently interrupted with his own spontaneous interventions. The family is the place where one learns to love, the natural center of human life, said His Holiness. Each one of us develops his or her personality in the family. It is there that one learns the art of dialogue and interpersonal communication, he continued. This is why the family community must be recognized as such, even more so today, when the protection of individual rights predominates.
The family is founded on marriage. Through a free and faithful act of love, Christian spouses testify that marriage as a sacrament is the basis on which the family is founded and makes the union and the reciprocal selflessness of spouses even stronger. Spousal and family love also clearly reveal the person's vocations to love in a unique manner and endlessly, and that the test, sacrifices, and crises of the couple, as well as of the family itself, represent times to grow in truth and beauty.
The Holy Father then highlighted two stages of family life: infancy and old age, reminding those present that children and elderly are two poles of life and also the most vulnerable and frequently the most forgotten. A society that abandons children and excludes the elderly rips out its roots and darkens its future.
Let us therefore, illuminated by the gospel and with respect and bravery, propose the beauty of marriage and the family to all. This is why we attentively and effectively reach out to those families.
The Holy Father then highlighted two stages of family life: infancy and old age, reminding those present that children and elderly are two poles of life and also the most vulnerable and frequently the most forgotten. A society that abandons children and excludes the elderly rips out its roots and darkens its future.
Over 100,000 people from 74 countries filled St. Peter's Square on Saturday the 26th to participate in the grand festivity of families around the world on the occasion of the Year of Faith. This activity was celebrated under the slogan, "Family, live the joy of faith."
The event began at 3 p.m. with different activities, alternating songs with testimonies, which common thread was the story of the life of St. Peter, narrated to the children by a grandfather, who related the story while sitting on the outside steps of the Vatican Basilica.
Among those singing were the finalists of the contest Family Talents, one of the elements with which this pilgrimage was prepared. The other was the collection of thousands of drawings made by children from around the world addressed to the Pope, in which they drew their own families.
A significant gesture was that of sending an SMS to a phone number engaged in the objective of raising funds for the families affected by the war in Syria. This campaign was implemented by the Pontifical Council for the Family along with Caritas Italy.
Pope Francis entered hand in hand with a group of children from different countries, accompanied by Monsignor Vincenzo Pagli. A young girl welcomed the Pope, and then the Holy Father invited everyone to make the sign of the cross. While "We Are the World" was being sung, thousands of balloons of different colors flew up to the sky as a sign of prayer and peace.
Monsignor Paglia welcomed and thanked the Holy Father, reminding us that the family is the motor of history and calling for family union throughout the world. In the presence of the Pope, he reminded us of the concrete case of the Syrian families, for which the Pope himself asked us to pray weeks earlier in this same spot in St. Peter's Square.
This address was followed by testimonies and songs. Among these, those testimonies of greatest impact were those from a Syrian family that was forced to flee in order to save their lives, and the testimony of two young Africans, illegal immigrants, who survived a shipwreck and were rescued on the Italian island of Lampedusa.
The Holy Father then addressed those present, and among other things referred to life's many fatigues and to the help offered to us by the Lord to withstand such fatigue. Life, he said, is at times tiresome and at times tragic. To work is tiring, to look for work is tiring. Finding work today requires so much effort. But the greatest burden is not this, but rather the lack of love, not receiving a smile, not being welcome, at times in our own family. Without love, fatigue is more burdensome, intolerable.
Jesus, the Pope continued, urges us to go to him, for he knows our fatigues, the burdens we carry in our lives, our deep desire to find joy. We Christians, he added, are not naive. We know there are problems, but we are not afraid because Christ is with us.
Lastly, the Pope insisted on the need to forgive each other. In order for the family to continue to be united, in order for a family to move forward, we must use 3 words: permission, thanks, and forgiveness, he stated. He concluded his speech referring to the icon presented by the Pontifical Council for the Family, containing 3 generations: the elderly Simeon and Anne, Joseph and Mary, and baby Jesus, which he resorted to urging everyone to listen to our grandparent.
The event finalized with the profession of faith, the Lord's Prayer, and the papal blessing, followed by Hail Mary. While the Pope greeted those who had participated most directly in the activities, the choir sang "Oh Happy Days," making a magnificent reference to the moments of joy experienced in St. Peter's Square.
The pilgrimage of families from around the world to the tomb of St. Peter on the occasion of the Year of Faith came to an end on the morning of October 27th with the Eucharist presided by the Pope in St. Peter's Square before the crowd that spread throughout, via della Conciliazione.
During the homily, the Holy Father completed the message sent on the previous evening in the same place. First of all, he insisted on the need for prayer, inviting families to practice the type of prayer used by the publican in the parable of the Gospel read during Mass.
Francis asked those families presented in St. Peter's Square, "Do you pray as a family?" and invited them to do so calmly and humbly. Simplicity is necessary, he stated, to pray the Lord's Prayer at the table, to pray the Rosary as a family, or to pray for each other. That is what praying as a family is about, and this strengthens the family.
In referring to the second reading, he invited families to be custodians of faith, as St. Peter was. But the Apostle, the Pope clarified, guarded faith as he defended and spread it. We should ask ourselves, the Pontiff added, how we go about guarding our faith as a family. Do we guard it as something private, or do we know how to share it with others? Christian families are missionary families, putting the salt and the yeast of faith in everything.
Lastly, the Pope referred to the joy emanated in experiencing faith. How much joy is in your family? Francis asked. The true joy experienced in the family, he added, is not superficial. It is rooted in the harmony between individuals, which makes us feel the joy of being together and helping each other throughout the course of life. Only God can create harmony among difference. The Pope ended his message by exhorting families to always live with faith and simplicity, like the family of Nazareth.
Before the final blessing, the President of the Pontifical Council, Monsignor Vincenzo Paglia, thanked the Pope on behalf of all the families around the world. His Holiness prayed for a few moments before the icon offered to him by the Pontifical Council for the Family, and then finalized the Holy Mass by praying the Angelus and with the final blessing.